just like that, folks, it very much feels like the Battlefield horse has very much bolted from the carriage here with all of this news, speculation, and leaking around Battlefield 2025. And over the past couple of days, we've started to get even more information from good old Tom Henderson, who heads up Insider Gaming News and is an established leaker in the Battlefield community. And look, it's pretty clear that the community are a little energized over all this new information. Can't say I blame them, given the current state of the Battlefield franchise and how little it is offering, but I also think there's a good opportunity here to remind ourselves to stay grounded. Let's kick off with some of the juicier details here though, particularly around the multiplayer side of this game and the quantity of content that we're apparently expected to see at launch. The game is allegedly expected to have 45 weapons at launch, which doubles that of what we received from Battlefield 2042's pathetic launch roster, and only falls about 5 short of what we got out of Battlefield 3 on launch day. So while it is far from the biggest collection of weapons that we've seen from a Battlefield game thus far, it's certainly a better start than what we've been getting lately. Throw in a half-decent customization system here on top of that, and well, we are most certainly making the right steps in the right direction here. On top of that, there's a goal here to get 10 maps into the game at launch as well, which is more in line with games such as Battlefield 1, 3, and 4's launch roster. Again, certainly a step up from what we have been getting out of the franchise as of late, but a quick tangent here though, but I feel like it needs to be brought up. The fact that the leaks that we're getting these days around games are just confirmations that we are, getting some value for the money that we spend on these AAA games is wild to me. Like, don't get me wrong, it's good news to get, but the fact that this kind of reassurance is what is needed in the gaming industry nowadays just really goes to prove how volatile this industry is right now and how much gamers have been burned lately. But I digress. It is good news, assuming there is any way to it, and I think the message has been received that gamers aren't going to keep accepting piss-poor content offerings for higher game prices. We've also gotten some confirmation, well, alleged confirmation, that the game is going to be set somewhere between 2027 and 2030, with a campaign that focuses on a conflict between a massive private military company and NATO. There definitely seems to be a trend right now of using PMC factions rather than hostile states or nations at the moment, but I imagine that probably has something to do with the current geopolitical environment at the moment. Nonetheless, without context, I would have been deeply concerned about hearing PMCs and then going, oh no, specialists are coming back. But that is already out of the question, as has been confirmed by Vince Impella. The first concept art that we saw a little while ago has also confirmed to be Gibraltar, which, being the key strategic point in the world that it is, makes sense to be a theatre of conflict. Henderson also spoke to the USA being a featured location in the game, both for its campaign mode, but also for the Battle Royale experience that is set to be included in the game's package. Following suit to the Call of Duty Warzone approach, it looks like we'll be getting an attached free-to-play side of the experience that is mainly being developed by Ripple Effect, which, and this may come across as a bit of a hot take from me, I actually don't mind in seeing, as long as it doesn't subtract from the core Battlefield experience as a result. If there's more value being added to the Battlefield brand without subtracting from the core Battlefield experience that we're all sort of really hankering to get out of the game at the moment, then that's a net positive for us at the end of the day. It's more content, it's more value, and there's more ways to introduce people to the Battlefield franchise. But Hazard Zone 2.0 is also the last thing I want to see for this game. So much dev time was wasted with so little value being added to the experience, and it was kind of hard to watch. So yeah, as long as, it's not just Hazard Zone 2.0 and we actually see, a fleshed out and decent experience come from it, then I'm happy days. Apparently, destruction is also a big focus for this Battlefield game as well, with quote-unquote caliber-based destruction, similar to the likes of Rainbow Six Siege, being a key feature here. Again, given how lackluster destruction was in Battlefield 2042, it's another nice return to form to see being spoken about at least. So, much like the last video we did on all this, guys, it's clear that all the right things are being said about Battlefield 2025, Battlefield 6, whatever you want to call it. As we said before, the community is definitely a little energized right now. But man, we've got to be careful with our expectations here. For one, this is all still words and just some concept art. We've seen nothing material or concrete yet about the next Battlefield game. I mean, sure, we did see that tech test footage come out of the Investors Day that looked like a potential FPS game being used to demonstrate new features. That could have been the base work for the next Battlefield game, but there was nothing concrete there, so I don't really feel confident in drawing a direct connection between that tech test footage and the next Battlefield game as of yet. So yeah, the point is, we've seen nothing material yet. Battlefield 2042's lead up was full of buzzwords and leaks and full of testimonies that the game was ahead of development and in a good spot ahead of launch that would, speak directly to the fans. Clearly, that's not what ended up happening here, and the onus really now falls on DICE and EA to come through with a feature-rich, well-designed, polished, well-identified game that rebuilds a lot of that lost trust. It explains a lot of the comments that I saw on my last few, I should say, Battlefield videos. Sentiments around no pre-orders, or it doesn't really matter, the franchise is dead to me. It all makes sense, and some people even had a bit of a crack at me for being a cautiously optimistic content creator for the game, saying that I was blindly falling for the hype and that content creators like us are the reason that EA keeps getting away with shoddy releases. And look, maybe there's a bit of truth behind that, guys. I acknowledge that. But on this channel, I've always been truthful and honest in my commentary and my goals here. And despite my absolute loathing for some of the things that EA have done over the last few years, especially with the Battlefield franchise, I genuinely do hope for the success of this Battlefield game. I want it to be good. I want it to succeed. Not for the sake of EA or for the sake of DICE even, but for the sake of us as gamers. We as gamers get the best games possible when competition in the industry is strong and when games are doing well and are doing what they do well. Because it demands as a result that competitors compete at the same level to avoid falling out of relevancy. Battlefield is and has always been a crucial element of the first-person shooter market in competing against other industry Goliaths like Call of Duty. And while there's always going to be die-hard fans that will stick to franchise A or franchise B on simple name rights, there's a lot of crossover these days, I find. And games companies know this. They know that they are competing for gamers and that they are competing for your hard-earned time and your hard-earned money. If Battlefield succeeds this time around and finally gets a win that we have been so desperately waiting for, we finally get another decent FPS game, and it puts other franchises to the challenge of being better as well. But on the flip side, if it fails, then we also need to make it known that we as a community won't accept that outcome no more from these AAA developers. And we're seeing that in action over in Ubisoft's camp. Their stock prices plummeted after the launch of Star Wars Outlaws, and that was as a result of gamer sentiment and gamer feedback around that game. There are some shifts occurring in the industry to the point where gamers' voices are being heard and shareholders of these companies are noticing. And ultimately, if a games development company continues to fail in producing a good product, then share prices drop alongside company performance, and shareholders will notice that and they will hold CEOs accountable. So folks, be energized, be hopeful, be all that you want to be around the next Battlefield game, because that's where I am right now. But I also remain grounded. Be cautious and understand that a lot of these claims are without material backing at this time, sometimes entirely based on hearsay and leaks. You can be hopeful for the future while not getting swept out from under your feet, and I encourage all of us to take that approach as we wait for the next little bits of info and gameplay for Battlefield 2025, 6, whatever it may be. But folks, that's my next little news drop on the latest Battlefield game and some thoughts on how we should be approaching the lead up to this next game. If you guys did enjoy the video, then backhand the like button, as it does go a long way to supporting the channel. And if you guys are new to the channel, consider subscribing whilst you're at it so you guys can stay up to date with all future video releases that we publish here. Also, be sure to swing by my Twitch channel, first link in the description down below, and come check out our community Discord. It'd be great to have you guys there as well. But until next time, my friends, peace out and have a good one. Catch you guys in the next one.